USC, and Slee, this is going to take me a minute to get used to saying it. And I know it's been coming for a long time, but it is official. USC is a member of the Big Ten Conference. We spoke with Athletic Director Jen Cohen about an hour or so ago. Right now, we're joined by the head coach of the women's basketball team, Lindsay Gottleib, joining us here on Trav and Slee. Lindsay, thanks for coming on. How you been?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. Definitely crazy to say it's a USC Big Ten Friday, but I love it.
It is for sure. And I want to get into that in a second. Lindsay, I'm sure you don't remember this, but Al's heard me tell this story a million times. When you were the head coach at UC Santa Barbara, I had recently changed jobs from the producing side of this business to the hosting side of this business. And you, Mark Masseri, who's the athletic director at Santa Barbara at the time, brought me up to kind of interview you and the men's soccer coach at the time, and you were the very first person that I have ever talked to as a professional broadcaster, and I have a very soft spot in my heart for you because you were very, very good to me when I did not know what I was doing.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy! I did not know that story. So do I get to take credit for launching your career then?
Well, you have to take responsibility, I think, more than credit because
this is more a negative thing. I'm sorry. I think we are apologizing to you.
Yeah, I think it's you're responsible more than you get credit for. But we were at some Mexican restaurant on State Street in the corner on like a card table. Do you have any recollection of that at all?
Now that you say that, I can kind of picture that's where the radio show was.
So let's talk.
So wild.
I know. And obviously watching you with the Gauchos and then Cal, and now of course we're here at USC. Talk a little bit about, like we just mentioned, the going to the Big Ten, and obviously there are a lot of opportunities there. There are a lot of challenges there. Kind of take us through it. What are the advantages of the Big Ten? What are the challenges of the Big Ten?
Yeah, when I was coming back from the NBA and decided to take this job, there were a lot of people that were like, "Well, why would you go back to college? There's so much change and." The transfer portal and players have autonomy and maybe NIL is coming. And in my mind, I thought, first of all, that should have happened a long time ago. So that didn't scare me. But my thought around change in college athletics, again, I'm a fairly progressive person. I think I can handle change. But I also thought no matter what happens, USC will be in a position of power and strength because of the brand and the school. Now, no one could have predicted we'd be in the Big Ten, least of all me. And I got the call maybe 15 minutes before it went live. But it actually has played out just like you said, where we were the ones to go and kind of create the change versus being reactionary. There's a ton of opportunity here. Of course, it's different. We all mourned the end of the Pac-12 and the great rivalries and programs there. But when you look at what it's going to provide for us, particularly at this moment of this like tsunami in women's basketball, to now be national and be on national TV, it's far more of an opportunity than anything else.
Lindsay, can you talk a little bit about that, just the evolution of the women's game in college basketball? And like you said, that so many of these games nationally televised. How do you feel about where women's basketball is today from a college perspective, from now where the WNBA is, and where do you think it's going to be over the next 5-10 years?
I mean, what an incredible time, right? And I would say that the revolution is more in the media coverage. Like, someone said, do you think it's where it is because we finally have stars? And with all due respect to the current stars, and they are amazing, we've had stars, right? From Cheryl Miller to Diana Taurasi to Candace Parker. Like, it's not that there haven't been personalities or great players. It's that now we have a platform and we're on TV and social media has helped. But right now is such an incredible moment because it's brought more eyes, and maybe those eyes came because of Caitlin Clark's magnetism, but they're going to stay to see all the other, great things about our game. And I think you're seeing the women in college who are legit, marketable, huge stars now bringing their fan bases to the W, which is growing, the W, which is also a really good product. And so it's a neat place to be. I think that, our particular place right now with the talent that we have on our team, we're going to be on a lot of the major networks and in good time slots. And so we see it as an opportunity to play our small part in growing the overall game as well.
Lindsay Gottleib, women's basketball coach for the USC Trojans, joining us here on Travis and Slee. How does obviously college sports for the longest period of time was very regional, right? If you grew up on the West Coast, you're a Pac-12 kid. If you grew up in the Midwest, you're a Big Ten guy. In the South, SEC, kind of everybody had their own little region. It's very different now that these conferences stretch across the entire continent, really. Does it change your recruiting? Is all of a sudden, instead of looking, here in Southern California, do you look at kids in Chicago, in North Carolina, New York City? Does it change that?
I think it does. I feel like the national, nature of women's basketball right now, and TV, and the opportunities that come from it, and the USC brand, I think allow us to go essentially into any household in America and say, is this the best place for you? Could it be the best place for you? I mean, that said, I always believe that California has as much talent as almost anywhere else. And, we're fortunate that some of the best players in the country are here in LA, and we're going to recruit the heck out of LA. But yes, I think that now with playing bi-coastally and also being on TV everywhere, and having USC on our chest, I do think, our recruiting is very national.
Lindsay Gottleib, who is the USC women's basketball head coach, joining us here on the Travis and Sliwa Show. Lindsay, just kind of stay on that. SC, obviously, a tremendous season last year, 29-6. How excited are you just for the upcoming year, the competition as well? And it's going to be completely different, right? Playing games against Michigan and Michigan State and Minnesota. I mean, just kind of go down the list. Ohio State. Your thoughts on the upcoming year, and then also just your thoughts on the competition that's out there.
Yeah, I mean, we're very, very excited. I mean, we know that last year we took a lot of people by surprise. I think our mantra a little bit was hey, you didn't pick us before, don't pick us now, kind of thing. We're sixth in our own league, but we also know now we're not sneaking up on anybody. There's this big word called expectation, and our one of our goals, this summer has just been to put in so much work and on and off the court that the expectations don't, hinder us at all, that they only launch us forward. We got a lot of talent in this gym, so I'm excited. And most importantly, we have great human beings, and it's been they're fun to be around. They're excited, and we're excited to coach them. And the competition is going to be no joke. I mean, in the non-conference, we've got Notre Dame and UConn, and Ole Miss. And if you look at whoever the projected top 5 is going to be, I think we're going to play 3 or 4 of those teams if you include, UCLA in there. And then you add the Big Ten schedule. The first thing is it's all new for us, right? I'm not going back to my scouting report from the last 10 years and say, oh, this coach always does this out of a timeout, or this is what to expect, when we play them on the road. It's all new for us. And it's great competition, but what an opportunity to kind of be re-energized and be the new kids on the block, and they have to come out here and play us too. And I think it's going to be really a fun experience for someone who's been in this game for a long time. You don't get a lot of brand new, and this is brand new.
SC women's basketball coach Lindsay Gottleib joining us. Of course, you can hear USC right here on 710. Football season kicks off in just a little bit. We got men's and women's basketball right here on 710. What does a player like JuJu Watkins do for your program? Obviously, SC, like you mentioned, Lindsay, has a history of incredible talents in the women's basketball program. Cheryl Miller, McGee, there are lots of them. But what can a player of that caliber do to launch the program even after they've gone?
I mean, you're seeing it in real time. I think it can't be stated enough how impactful JuJu has been in the renaissance of this program. It doesn't really happen in other sports the way it happens in women's basketball. And what I mean is that for so long, there were 1 or 2 teams, maybe 3, that dominate everything, the airwaves, the conversation, the Final Fours. And so it would take a huge amount of courage for one of the top players to not go to one of those schools, right? Like, you risk a lot. I know it sounds wild because USC is such an incredible place. How is that a risk to come here? But for someone who, could go to one of the established powers, it's a big deal. And that young woman did that, right? Like, she bet on herself, she bet on us. And in doing so, she literally has changed an entire narrative. I was told, for all the great things that USC has, right? It's an incredible school, great facilities, wonderful legacy. We were told you can't get fans here for women's basketball. You can't get fans on a Friday night. And now there's people wrapped around the building, waiting to come in. And we've got, people in JuJu jerseys, and it's her impact in that way and on the community. I mean, I've been here this whole summer, and I don't know if there's a bigger star in LA other than maybe LeBron and Shohei. It's wild. She's in that echelon, and she's deserving of it. And I think what's cool is that, the kid is a hooper. Like, she's a great teammate. She's invested in right now, but she also has an understanding that she doesn't want USC to be good for this year and next year and the 2 more years that she's here. She wants to leave a legacy. And I do think little kids growing up will now hopefully see, we have more work to do and we got to win more, but they'll see USC the way little kids, thought of UConn or, thought of, Notre Dame when Skylar was there. Like, I think it's really cool, the impact that she's had, and we're seeing it in real time. And I think it's going to be something that's talked about for years.
How much better can she get? I mean, she's number 2 scorer in the nation last year, broke so many different records. Like you just mentioned, putting SC on the map, and I agree with you. It does kind of sound funny to say that, but she didn't go to UConn. She didn't go to one of these other programs. How much better can she get from just being a freshman at USC to what this upcoming season is going to be?
Yeah, that's a great question. Like, I think, she did all that at 18 years old, and it was
nuts.
It was wild sometimes. But of course she can get better. I mean, the number one thing is that she is not a social media star or a star who happens to play basketball. She's a hooper, who cares about her craft and really is a student of the game, who, by the way, also then has garnered this following, which means that she's in the gym a lot, that she's intensely, competitive, that there's not a drill that she does where she's not going hard. And so, of course, there's ways she can improve. I think she would tell you, she wants to have her shooting efficiency be higher. She wants to be better from 3. She's been working a lot on going left. Like, she takes any kind of, potential scouting report against her and turns it into a strength. I think, she's helped, obviously, to recruit some incredible transfers to even make our team better. And so she's excited to figure out, how to score more points as a team and win more games. So I think, the great ones always find a way, even if it's nuanced, to get better. There's not some huge gaping hole in her game, but there's always ways that you can get better. And the mentality that she has from the day that she walked in here for her postseason meeting was, okay, how do we take this thing to another level?
Lindsay, last question before I let you go. I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit. Should Caitlin Clark have been on the Olympic team?
Oh man, that's a tough one. And I've been on USA committees, and I know the people who are making some of the selections. It's complicated, right? Like, that's the best way to say it. It's really complicated. There's a whole process, and she couldn't go to all the camps, and she couldn't go to all the things. And then all of a sudden, the WNBA season starts, and now we're looking at it. Is she one of the best 12 players in the W? I think so. Mm-hmm. But that's not always how teams are constructed and how they're made. You see them on the men's side too. I think that the best thing I'd say is, and I've spent a little time with her, and she's awesome. I think this break and not playing basketball for 2 weeks or whatever it is good for her. I think she's going to be an Olympian. I think we're still going to win gold, and I think going forward she'll probably be one of the faces of it. So I think it'll work out all the which way around. Did I dodge the question? I don't know.
That was a good answer.
That's a good answer.
It was a very good answer. Somebody that's been around the block a few times for sure. Lindsay Gottleib, the head coach at USC. Lindsay, thanks again for treating me like I actually knew what I was doing when I didn't a million years ago. It's a pleasure to talk to you, and we look forward to having your games here on in 710.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys picking us up on 710. That's really huge for people to hear us on the radio, so appreciate that. And I'm not sure I knew what I was doing my first job at Santa Barbara either, so glad we both made it this far.
So far, so good. Thanks, Lindsay.
Yeah. Thanks, you guys. Bye-bye.
You got it.